Hello and welcome to another edition of It's Your City. I'm Bob Crowell and I have the honor of being the mayor of the greatest city in Nevada, our very own Carson City. Let me talk a little bit about what happened last week. There are a couple large items that are good for our community. First, let me talk about the NV 150 fair that was put on at Fuji Park. What a tremendous effort and what a tremendous project that was for our community. It provided wholesome entertainment for many, young and old alike, parents and grandparents, kids. It was just a wonderful event. I've heard from many different people around the community that it's something we ought to try and do maybe make that a staple, an annual event, and I think that's exactly what we're going to try to look at doing. It's also a real success story about how things can get done in our community. The fair was started last October, and it kind of got its genesis by some folks, I think led by Judge Roby Willis, who thought that, we haven't had a fair. The fair in Reno closed down, the state fair in Reno closed down, so we ought to try one in Carson City. And from there, it just blossomed. The city Board of Supervisors decided to try and, not to try, but to help fund the fair. Our redevelopment agency did the same thing. And through the efforts of a lot of people, not the least of which is our Deputy City Manager, Marina Works, who put together this fair. It was putting together a fair may seem somewhat easy, but that's when you look at it, everything looks orderly, but it is difficult. They are difficult to put on. There's a lot of different moving pieces to do, and this fair went off without a hitch. There were no law enforcement issues there. There was no alcoholism going on there, and it was just a wonderful event. And my hat's off to all those who helped make this a truly shining star for our community. There are many that I'd like to talk about, but let me just mention two. That's the Chamber of Commerce, the Carson City Chamber of Commerce, which was a big player and partner in putting this fair on. Just did a wonderful job in organizing volunteers, helping organize vendors and things of that nature. The Chamber Board and its Executive Director, Ronnie Hanneman, really they just did a tremendous job in helping promote this fair and put it on. Also, as you know, we had a little bit of a parking issue, and Fuji Park does have some parking issues, and that's one of the things we have to look at if we're going to continue to do these things. But the Casino Fandango stood up for our community and allowed us to use some of their area for parking, and then we had a shuttle bus that ran from the parking lot to the fair. And I want to say a personal thanks to Casino Fandango. They had a shelter for people who could park there, and they had water to give out. And I'm told that the shuttle ran frequently and often, and everybody really rather enjoyed it, even though sometimes in our community we get accustomed to just driving our car right up to the event itself. So again, a big thanks to the Chamber of Commerce and to the Fandango. I also want to give a big pat on the back to the 4-H groups and the FFA groups. Not only did they help put this fair on, but they were able to show off their livestock and their accomplishments in a very noticeable way. And I think the governor said it best. I know the governor is a former 4-H member himself, but as he said, this is what truly makes Nevada and Carson City a special place, when you see young people who have done remarkable things to get their animals and their livestock ready to be shown. I was just terribly impressed. I know that the governor was extremely impressed as well, because I know he stayed around he just didn't come out there a photo op. He came out there and stayed around for a couple hours, and I think that's a tribute to the governor. And as I mentioned during the ribbon cutting, Governor Sandoval has got a lot on his plate, but I'm here to say that there is always room on that plate for Carson City. So a hearty shout out to Governor Sandoval for helping promote this fair, and a big shout out to the NV 150 committee for helping to put it on as well. And we will be having, I can't tell you all the statistics of how many people attended and things like that, because not all, the gate, there was no gate or paid gate to get in. Only a couple of events were paid events. But we will be having some estimates done, and we'll be having a kind of an after-action report or debrief, I think in the first meeting in September, where we'll kind of see, what kind of impact it had, not only at the fair, but what kind of impact it had on our community and our hotels, and also, if we can, if it made or lost money. And our initial assessment is that while it didn't make back the entire $75,000 that the city put in from its general fund, that it didn't go in the red. And is in the black, but so we'll have to see where that is. But I think that for most everybody who I talked to said, if you made money on it, put it away for another one of these fairs, because it was just a great thing to do for our community. Let me also say that another big event occurred last week, and that's when the city manager talked about having the Nevada Humane Society come in and run Carson City's animal services. That's a big deal. Although the nuts and bolts of that have to be put together by a contract that needs to be approved by both the Board of Supervisors and the Board of the Nevada Humane Society, I have every reason to believe that we will make this work. I met personally with the executive committee of the Nevada Humane Society earlier or last week, and they are extremely happy and pleased to be asked to partner with us to run our animal services department. And I let them know that their brand name for the Nevada Humane Society is really the gold standard in Nevada. And I think, as they mentioned, it's really kind of the gold standard throughout the country. They do a great job. And so from code enforcement on up to animal services, all forms of animal services will be run by the Nevada Humane Society. And I'm also pleased to say that it's my understanding that there will be no employee of Carson City that loses their job as a result of this. If we can't find a job with Nevada Humane Society, we will find another job for them in Carson City. So it's going to hopefully be a great partnership, and it will indeed, as you read in the local paper, it will be a no-kill shelter operation, which I think is extremely important in today's age. And I would also say that the Nevada Humane Society will have a chance to take a look at the plans that we are developing for the new animal shelter, and we'll have a say in those plans. The only caveat I would have, and they understand this, is that we have a defined budget for that animal shelter, and we want to stay well within that budget. So I look forward to seeing the actual written contract between Carson City and the Nevada Humane Society, and I think that's a great move for our community, and it's a great move for our animals, and hopefully it meets with the approval of our residents. Let me conclude here by just saying that the economy in Carson City seems to be picking up, and kind of internally and mentally I've kind of told myself that I kind of want to see if the proof is really in the pudding, and I'll find that out towards the end of this year. But it was interesting, and it was heartening to see that the sales tax number for the month of May was up 7.8% year over year for that month, which means that capital is beginning to move. And that was 7.8% despite the fact that the auto dealers were not a big part of that increase. So that means that our retail shops, Sportsman's, Bell's, other shops that are coming in, Cal Ranch, others and all of our retail stores and existing stores are seemingly doing better in terms of sales. Additionally, at the last board meeting, we approved the final map for an entity known as Schultz Investments, LLC, which revived the subdivision map for the development at the old racetrack out near Topsy Lane and Topsy and Bigelow Lane. Actually, it's right along Racetrack Drive. And they intend in 3 phases to build 400 homes in that area, and the first tentative map, which we finalized at the last board meeting, was for 106 homes on 6,000 square foot acre lots. Which means, as I mentioned before, that money and people are finally starting to come back after what we've been through for the last few years. At least I'm hopeful that that's the case. And I should also mention, you know, I was taking a tour around Silver Oak recently, and there are a number of new homes being built in Silver Oak as well. So I think those things bode well for us. And as I said, you know, I want to wait to see if the proof is really in the pudding. Well, for me, the kind of the benchmark is what happens towards the end of the year here. And I want to leave on this note that in October we will be having a strategic retreat with the board. It's a retreat. It's going to be done here in Carson City, and it'll be open to the public if people want to come hear that. But we'll be again talking about Carson City goals and things that are going on. It's kind of a time for the board to get together with the staff and the city manager and kind of go over things of where they see the city going and where it should go. And let me give a little pat on the back to our new city manager. He's been on board just about 2 months now, actually probably just about 2 months. From my perspective, he has picked up the nuances and the reins in Carson City extremely fast. And so a nice little pat on the back for our city manager, and I have every reason to believe that's going to continue to happen. So that's about it. Again, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to give me a call, or any board member a call, or email. They're all listed on the Carson City website. And again, as I close, as I say always, thank you for all that each and every one of you do for making Carson City a better place to live, work, learn, play, and raise families, and just have a good time and retire. It takes all of us to make these things happen, just like it takes all of us to put on a fair. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you for everything that you do. Thank you.